Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor, and I'm going to record one level quieter than I normally do because I think you know who is going to bed. So I'm starting a little late. You lifetime listeners remember the last time I did a whisper episode and how fun that was. Okay. Today, I want to talk about how I've noticed recently that I'm finding opportunities to nurture my relationships and smooth out the wrinkles that naturally develop over time because we're human. It's a result, clearly to me, of practicing the steps of my program, particularly steps 9 and 10. And it was really just when I practiced steps 9 and 10, it was really just breaking the seal on how to play a new role in my relationships. When I first did step 9, making my amends, I thought I was just fixing stuff, but I found that it gave me a lot of courage to open my mouth and share how I feel with other people. It introduced me to this new way of participating in relationships. I began to understand that there's a level of participation, a level of work that I was not contributing, not to my friends, my family, my parents, my boyfriend, my kids. I realized that I have to get uncomfortable to really give to a relationship what it needs to be strong. But over 8 years, I'm definitely still learning how much I can give, how much I need to give, and what people like me to give. And that's what leads me here to this episode today. I'm recognizing that there are opportunities to give in places I never observed before, particularly when I was drinking. But now that I'm not working and I have a little more time, a lot of time, I have found that I'm discovering more and more ways to give to other people. And I don't mean materialistically. I mean in every way that you can give to another person. So it's just been quite fascinating as I've been thinking about this over the past it's been almost a week that I've been thinking about this. So, as a result of practicing step 9, which involves making amends to those we have harmed, I found resolution in my relationships, but it doesn't stop there. So, to maintain and nurture these relationships, I've learned the importance of consistently practicing step 10. So, this step is about taking personal inventory and promptly admitting our wrongs. So, all of these, I should say, step 9 and 10 appear to me to be more of fixing, fixing relationships and giving ourselves the opportunity and those in our lives the opportunity to start anew, to mend things and try to start from there. But what I've noticed is that it has given me this new level of I guess mindfulness, being aware of how I'm participating. So this next level that I'm talking about is not fixing things, but making continuous improvements in my interactions with other people. So it's not taking things that I have messed up and fixing them. It's more like, okay, things are good. How can they be better? How can I give more? How can I have stronger relationships? How can I have more love? Surround myself with more love, give more love. So I've talked about this before, the step 10, and it's the foundation of step 10 is self-reflection. So at the end of each day, I take a moment to reflect on my actions, my thoughts, and my interactions with other people. So I've talked to you guys about how I have this little prayer card, and I asked myself, like, did I handle all of my situations? Did I handle my interactions with people today with kindness and patience? Was I honest and open with people? Was I afraid? Did I let any resentments or negative emotions cloud my judgment? Um, and this is something that up until I had my stroke, I read this little card every single night consistently for years. No, I didn't have it memorized. I don't know why. I tried, but I just couldn't get it. I guess because I never put in that kind of work to memorize it, since I never thought I would not be able to read it. So anyway, I can read it if I really need to. Um, but this is this is what I'm asking now, several years in. It's shifted a bit more because these questions that I asked myself in this step 10 reflection were very focused on my relationships at work because that's where I spent all my time. So I'm like thinking about, did I, am I maintaining my professional relationships? Am I being kind to everybody? Am I being helpful? But I was always thinking of it on a professional level. Um, and now as I don't have this job that I'm going to every day, what I've been finding is that I'm digging a little deeper, and I'm thinking about, before I go to bed, I'm thinking more about, was I thinking unkind things? It used to be, was I treating people unkind? Did I say anything that could have been construed as being bitchy but now it's like I'm thinking another level in, which is like, am I even thinking bitchy things? And yes, I am really reviewing that stuff now. I really am, because I have a lot of time on my hands, and I think it's not a bad thing um, to be able to think about this stuff and try to correct another layer in. Um, and what I've also been thinking is, after I've interacted with somebody in during a particular day, I think, did I give a little more than what felt natural? And it's like when I told you several months ago, I think, when about being nicer than what felt natural, that it was a little experiment I did at work. For those of you who didn't hear this episode, I did this little experiment at work because my boss had mentioned something about maybe I don't come across kindly sometimes, that I can, what I'm thinking is apparent, and I can come across kind of, I wouldn't say nasty or bitchy. It's just that if I'm aggravated with something and I need something to be done a certain way, I tell people, like, I'm very direct. And I guess that's probably what it is. And he was giving me suggestions on how to come across a little kinder. So after quite some time, I would say a couple years of him giving me some guidance on word choice. That's what he was giving me guidance on, is word choice and phrasing things in certain ways so that it comes across a little more kind than what felt natural. So I started doing it. Once I got good at it, I started doing it verbally. So that was more like email. And so I started practicing it verbally. And I started like adding a little more inflection in my voice than what felt natural to me. And I started adding compliments and a lot more positivity than what felt natural for me. I was almost playing this role, playing this part of being this bubbly. I mean, I'm always pretty bubbly, but this I don't know, just like overly helpful, going the extra mile, that's what I was doing. And I'll tell you, this experiment was successful because my relationships with my coworkers, like, the difference was obvious. Everything got better. I already had really good relationships with people, but it was like people started coming to my office to visit me more often. People started, confiding in me. I actually had one woman who started to come into my office and sit down with me and talk to me about some struggles she was having. And it was after I started this experiment. So it was pretty cool to watch that happen. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about now reviewing my day, practicing this step 10 on another level, looking at things that maybe I could take things a little bit further and do things a little more so that it doesn't feel natural, be kinder than what I normally would be, and just see what happens. And now I'm reviewing it that way as well. So, step 10, this daily assessment that helps you stay aware of your behavior um, and its impacts on others is really, it makes you think before you speak, right? And with practice, now I'm not just making sure I didn't treat somebody badly, but I'm thinking about if my self-talk was unkind, if I was thinking badly, and like I said, that shows whether we realize it or not. I'm thinking, were my thoughts judgmental? Because I don't want to be judgmental. I feel like I am judgmental. And I don't want to be. And being this is being mindful and catching those opportunities to be a better human being. And those are the wrinkles. That's what I'm talking about, smoothing out the wrinkles. Um, so step 9 says that when you identify a mistake or a wrong action, to admit it right away. Bring it up to whoever it is. Of course, think about it, pause, um, and talk to the person so that it doesn't end up ballooning into this big issue. And this might involve a simple apology or maybe a more in-depth conversation, depending on what the situation it is. But the key is to address the issue before it festers and it becomes something more than it needs to be. You expend more energy than you really need to, damage the relationship and so forth. So, what I'm suggesting is addressing things with step 10. This is more for folks that have been sober for more than a year, have already gone through the steps one time. So, what I'm suggesting is addressing things that aren't mistakes, you know, putting a little more effort into nurturing relationships. They're more like reassuring someone of your commitment or restating your appreciation or giving when it's not a holiday. That's an extreme example, but at night when I go to bed, because I have so much time on my hands, I'm thinking about what can what did I do today that I might have had an opportunity to do a little more? And, I am. That's what I'm doing. And so that's what I'm talking about. So this is what I did. This is an example, and I picked on my sponsor this morning in my morning meeting, so I'll pick on her again. Hi, sponsor. So she was leaving, and she's probably like, why are you using this as an example? But it's an example because I'm allowing my thoughts to come to the surface. I'm talking about them. When something comes to mind where I feel like I need to, I will have a better relationship with this person if I say this thought that's in my mind. So here's my example. My sponsor was here at my house on Sunday, and when she was leaving after a couple of hours of being here, we were walking down to the door, and I said, I'm sorry that I didn't call you this week. I know that I promised you that I was going to call you every week, and it really has to do with me just not remembering. And I wanted to say that because I made a commitment that I was going to call her every week. And it is something that I have not done with any of my sponsors. I always tell them I'm going to call them and I don't. And I warned this one when I first asked her to be my sponsor. I said, I'm not great at calling and I really want that to change. And so we said, okay, well, I'll call on Tuesdays. Well, that happened like 1 week, and then I didn't keep calling on Tuesdays. But then I would call on a Wednesday or call on a Thursday or call on so she's like, you just call whenever you can call or when you think to call. And it just happens to be that usually when I think about it, she's at work, which is not an excuse because I can always call and leave a message. But anyway, I told her, I just wanted to reassure her of my commitment. And her response to me was, of course, very kind. And she said, because I also didn't want it to be personal, it to come across as personal that I'm not calling her. Um, and she said, "Oh, no, no, I never take it personal." And so that's an example of how we were walking towards the door. I didn't really have to say anything. What I could have thought in this day and age, what I could have done, which is not the right answer, is to walk down the stairs and think, oh, I really need to call her more. And then follow that thought up with, well, I'll just text her and tell her that. You know, I mean, that's the stuff that I think in this day and age with this technology, like I'll just text it. And I'm trying to get out of that and be more vocal about things and say things out loud because the importance of that has been lost. And that is incredibly helpful and nurturing to our relationships to actually speak. We have gotten away from that. I have gotten away from that. There are lots of people who have not, who refuse to text, will actually pick up the phone and call. I'm not one of them. So I'm trying to practice doing that. But this is an example of wanting to nurture my relationship and smooth out the wrinkles. The wrinkle being, I made a commitment and I have not kept it. I haven't been calling her every week. Yes, I reach out to her, I text her, but that's not what I promised. My commitment is to call. And so that's a wrinkle that I wanted to smooth out and say it out loud. So, to nurture relationships and smooth out the wrinkles, I have a few suggestions. I just kind of brainstormed like what are things that help nurture relationships and smooth out the wrinkles. So I'm just going to unload on you. So here we go. Don't wait for special occasions to tell people how much they mean to you. Um, that is, I think, number one. And I I'm trying to do it a lot more, but I think it's important to do that again out loud. You can certainly do it over text, but it doesn't have the same impact as when the person hears your voice say it. Spending quality time with people, and that means putting away your phone and putting away distractions and focusing on the person. And that just shows them how much you value their presence, really listening to somebody, not texting while somebody's talking to you. That drives me crazy. But showing understanding, actively listening and responding thoughtfully. And whenever I think of responding thoughtfully, to me, that means listen to what somebody has to say and then pause and think about your answer. Um, Pausing uncomfortable silences actually show the people that you're with that you're being thoughtful. So think about it. Try the next time you're in a conversation, try to not respond right away. Take like 3 beats before you respond and allow that uncomfortable silence to happen and just sit there between you. And it actually does something that doesn't happen unless you have that space. I don't know. I had a mentor that taught me how to do that, and it really is super impactful. It when he told me about it, it was more in public speaking to have these uh, longer than natural pauses. But in conversations, it actually keeps the conversation calm. It keeps it really thoughtful. And I don't know. I really I'm learning more how to get comfortable with the pause. Um, Responding to people with support, just knowing when somebody is willing to help can make a difference. Like, tell somebody on Sunday, I said to somebody, um, I've been thinking about you all month because I haven't seen them in a month. And I said, I've been thinking about you all month. And and her response was, me? And I was like, yeah. And I have found that when you tell somebody that you've been thinking of them, they seem surprised. Like, it's like we never feel like people are thinking of us. And we certainly don't know somebody's thinking about us unless we're told. And so it really is a gift to tell somebody that you were thinking about them, that you were spending valuable time in your life to think about them. And that's really cool. Practice and talk out loud about letting go. I find that when I talk about letting go of something like a frustration that's bothering me and how I am working on letting it go, that the person I'm talking to will nod and usually respond with something that they have been trying to work on letting go. It's like a human being thing. It's like going to the bathroom. It's something we all do, but we don't talk about it. And so try it. And then also acknowledging the efforts of people around you. And by efforts, I don't mean like, thanks for making dinner or thanks for driving me here or there. These are things that I am thankful for recently. But it's like when somebody, if we're really present and observing, you can see what people are doing for you uh, that probably doesn't require you to say thank you, but because it's kind of just become natural that they do these things for you. But to just stop and say thank you and acknowledge people's efforts. And maybe it's not even for you. Maybe it's, what my husband does for my kids is something that is, I don't thank him enough for that, So that kind of thing. And one of my favorites is send somebody a card in the mail with a stamp on it. That is also a really great way of nurturing a relationship and smoothing out the wrinkles. So I think by incorporating some of these things, some of these little extra efforts into our lives, we can nurture our relationships with each other and make them stronger and make them more fulfilling. Um, Smoothing out the wrinkles that develop over time. And wouldn't it be nice to just be able to that serenity that we learn to know in the program? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to sit with someone and feel that same serenity both at the same time? And that's really the goal, is to feel that sort of um, release from any kind of problems or worries or anything like that in the presence of another person. That's a relationship. That is a true loving relationship where you can hold on to your serenity when you're sitting in the same silence with somebody else. So these were thoughts that were on my mind over the past week, so I wanted to share them with you. I hope you found some benefit to it, and please share the episode if you did or if you didn't. And thanks for listening to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.